Senator Ted Cruz just exposed something that should terrify every American who believes in free speech. In a shocking Senate hearing, he revealed that Charlie Kirk's assassination wasn't just random violence. It was coordinated political murder, with transgender chat rooms, Antifa-marked bullet casings, and potential accomplices still at large. This isn't just about one killing, it's about organized domestic terrorism targeting conservatives. And the FBI director's evasive answers suggest this conspiracy goes deeper than anyone imagined.
And I want to shift topics to what happened last week. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was assassinated because of his political views. We're living in a time of enormous division and tragically hatred, and hatred that manifested in evil that we saw last week. Now, the FBI, working in concert with state and local law enforcement, apprehended what appears to be, in all likelihood, the murderer. And you did so in just 33 hours. So I want to start by just congratulating you and the FBI agents and state and local law enforcement for successfully apprehending the murderer in less than a day and a half. In the wake of that assassination, we have seen far too many people on the left celebrating the assassination. We've seen Democrats, we've seen activists cheering it on. We've seen tragically teachers in high schools, teachers in elementary schools, university professors cheering on the murder of Charlie Kirk. You and I both knew Charlie well. He was a good friend. He was an extraordinary man. And I will say there's a great deal of discussion about what to do about it. Under our Constitution, under the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment, speech is protected. And that's true even for vile speech. Someone can stand up and say the most hateful thing, and it's protected by the First Amendment. Nazis and Klansmen can march in the streets, and even though their speech is bigoted and horrible and racist, the First Amendment protects it. Conduct, however, is not protected by the First Amendment, particularly conduct that is violent. Violent conduct that is threatening others, that is harassing others, that is injuring, or in this case, murdering others, is most assuredly not protected by the First Amendment. And so I would encourage you and the FBI to focus on conduct. Now, speech can guide you to those engaged in conduct. And I will say one question that I have and many have, and I recognize this is an ongoing investigation, so I don't want you to say anything that would compromise the investigation. But what can you tell us at this point about what evidence there exists of other individuals who may have had prior knowledge of this assassin's plans to murder Charlie Kirk on September 10th?
Generally speaking, we've interviewed numerous people, family members and friends, including the partner, to provide us with a detailed history of the knowledge he may have had, the suspect may have had prior to. We're still mapping out who, if anyone, was involved as an accomplice. As I said, the investigation is ongoing. We're also speaking to and going to interview numerous individuals online who were part of a chat group that was involved in this heinous assassination. And we're also going to work with our state and local partners out in Utah to find out what community organizations, if any, participated or had any foreknowledge of this information. But it's very much ongoing. I remind everybody that it's not even been a week since Charlie's tragic death.
Is it accurate? It's been widely reported that the assassin's roommate was a transgender man who was transitioning to be female, and it's also been reported that they may have been romantic partners. Is that accurate?
Yes, Senator.
And I assume the FBI is investigating. It has also been reported that there were transgender chat rooms that may have had some awareness of the plan to commit this murder. Is that accurate as well?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
It's been reported that there were chat rooms of transgender activists that indicated some degree of potentially of foreknowledge of this murder.
We're still developing that.
Do you have any information the bullet casings had on them both Antifa and LGBT wording on them? Do you have any indication of the source of those engravings and what inspired them?
As to the actual source, we're still developing that.
I want to encourage you in the course of this investigation, absolutely go after anyone who aided and abetted. But I want to more broadly encourage you, follow the money. The violence we are seeing is not purely organic. There is, I believe, significant money that is spreading dissension, that is spreading violence. Antifa. Do you believe Antifa is a terrorist organization?
I believe Antifa is associated with a lot of violence in this country. As to its designation, I'll leave that to the appropriate authorities.
So I would encourage the administration to designate Antifa as a terrorist organization, to go systematically after Antifa. They've committed acts of violence all over the country. And the shell casings have multiple references to slogans that Antifa has popularized. I believe there is considerable money funding it. I would note that I've introduced legislation called the Stop Funders Act. Stop Funders Act would add rioting to the list of predicate offenses under RICO. I believe the money should be tracked and prosecuted under RICO. And both the Antifa and Black Lives Matter riots of a couple of years ago and the pro-open border riots in Los Angeles and other cities of this past year, I believe there was significant money behind those riots. I'm not the only person who noticed at the anti-Semitic protests and violent protests on college campuses that many of the tents all matched. And so I would ask, would it aid your ability to prosecute these matters if Congress passed into law the Stop Funders Act and if rioting was added to the list of predicate offenses for RICO?
Yes.
Talk to me about the efforts of the FBI to go after the funders of the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses, the pro-open border protests in cities, and potential LGBT violence. Talk to me about the efforts to go after the money of those who are funding and promoting violence.
As I've always said, Senator, money doesn't lie, and we've been following the money. And so that's what we're doing, issuing lawful process to organizations involved with criminal activity, because the money's got to come from somewhere and it has to be funded somehow. So we have extensive investigations ongoing into numerous organizations that are related to violent criminal activity.
Cutting off the money will make America much safer, and that is the core job of the FBI. And I thank you for doing your job.
Senator Patel.
What Senator Cruz exposed in that hearing room wasn't just the details of a murder investigation, it was a window into how domestic terrorism operates in America when political hatred turns lethal. His methodical questioning revealed a conspiracy that extends far beyond one assassin with a gun. The facts Cruz extracted should alarm every American. Charlie Kirk's killer didn't act alone. The FBI confirmed they're investigating transgender chat rooms that had advanced knowledge of the murder plot. They're tracking down accomplices who may have aided the assassination. Most chilling of all, the bullet casings were deliberately marked with both Antifa and LGBT slogans, turning the murder weapon itself into a political manifesto. This wasn't random violence. It was coordinated domestic terrorism designed to silence conservative voices through fear. When Cruz pressed Director Patel about these chat rooms, about the marked ammunition, about potential accomplices, Patel's responses were telling in what they revealed and what they concealed. The investigation is ongoing. Evidence is still developing. But the pattern Cruz outlined points to organized political violence. The money trail matters most. Cruz's questioning about funding sources touches the nerve of how modern domestic terrorism operates. These aren't isolated lone wolves. They're part of networks that coordinate, communicate, and receive resources. When Cruz mentioned matching tents at campus protests and systematic funding of violent riots, he was connecting dots the FBI should have been tracing for years. The transgender chat room revelation is particularly significant because it suggests advanced planning and community knowledge. This wasn't spontaneous rage. It was premeditated political assassination with a support network that knew it was coming. That transforms Kirk's murder from individual crime to organized terrorism. Cruz's focus on Antifa designation and RICO prosecution reveals the legal tools needed to dismantle these networks. When violent groups coordinate across state lines, receive funding, and plan attacks against political targets, they meet every definition of domestic terrorism. Yet they operate with virtual impunity because law enforcement treats each incident as isolated rather than part of a broader campaign. The constitutional framework Cruz outlined is crucial. Free speech protects even vile rhetoric, but coordinated violence targeting Americans for their political beliefs crosses every legal and moral boundary. When political disagreement becomes assassination, when chat rooms become planning centers for murder, when bullet casings become political statements, we've moved beyond the realm of protected speech into domestic warfare. This investigation will test whether our justice system can recognize and respond to coordinated domestic terrorism, or whether political killings will become normalized as just another form of political expression. The evidence Cruz extracted suggests we're facing organized networks, not isolated incidents. The question is whether we'll treat them as such.